This week in history.
Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
All right, Johnny, this week I got a couple of good things for us.
Good things?
Well,
Why do you always do this to me?
I'm sorry. They're things that might mimic society today a little bit.
How can that be good?
It's, well, fun.
Have you looked
entertaining.
around, Tom?
It's been a long, stressful day for me. My hair I get my comb over that keeps coming down so you can see my long, receding hairline here.
These?
Yes, I got that. Yes, I got that too. All right, well, the first thing, Johnny, is the bubonic plague. It's going to hit London this week in 1348.
All right.
So, also known as the Black Death, the plague hits London during the first week of November. It's already been in England since June, actually.
Okay.
It comes over via the boat, and a sailor comes over and brings it, and it spreads like wildfire. But this week, it hits London. It actually reaches its peak because, the mask mandate, people were like, I don't need to wear a mask. We don't need to do that.
But
There's that whole social distancing thing. I don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
but they didn't know about that shit then.
And there's the whole we need to wash our hands. No, we don't need to.
No.
We don't wash our hands.
No.
There's none of that garbage. So that's why it spreads like wildfire.
Well, also, people thought that, like, bloodletting and things like that would help cure it, and so they would take leeches from somebody who has it.
So
Is that
I'm not.
true?
Yes, that is true, and it's also like I might be mistaken about the time frame here, but I'm pretty sure in the 1300s they were still believing in if you got an open wound.
Yeah.
In order to, they knew infection existed. They just didn't know how to fight infection. So they thought in their heads, if I put dung, and by dung I mean literal shit,
Yeah.
in said wound, it will draw out the toxins because toxins will go to the shit, and then that'll prevent the infection. Which
And that's
I don't
probably
understand.
because, like, flies went to shit, and they're like, oh,
Yes.
flies are dirty and bad and go to gross things, so the rest of it must.
Which I don't understand. Like at some point, the scientific method is I have a hypothesis.
Oh, it wasn't
I
around.
think
They
if
didn't
I
have
do
that.
this, I know, but it's like at some point somebody had to go. This doesn't ever work. Like 90% of the time, it makes it worse. So
Okay,
maybe
but
we
here's the
don't-
thing. Nothing they did worked. And so what they would do is they do this shit sometimes, and then sometimes some person would have great antibodies. They'd put shit on it, and he'd get better and be like, oh, look, we did it to this person, and he got
It
better.
must-
He's
it
the
must
only
work.
one out of 100, but everything else we did killed everybody else too. So this must be the way science is.
Funny enough though, the term Black Death and bubonic plague actually doesn't surface until the 17th century. When it would return to England for like the fifth time. So at this time, it was just known as the second pandemic, because, yay. It spread from Asia through trade routes, and it hit London. And when it hit London, it estimated that 40 to 60% of the population of England was killed in its entirety, or somewhere in the ballpark of 3.75 million people, give or take millions and millions and millions, because
Who the fuck
censuses and
knows
things
in
and God knows.
1700s
But-
or 1300s?
But
Was
40
this
to
the
60% of
1300 one?
population.
The
Yeah, this is the
1300
13. Yeah, this is the 1300 ones. Yeah. 40 to 60% of the population of 1300s.
That's a lot of people
So-
in London at that time.
Well, that was all of England. The 3.75
Oh,
million
okay.
was all of
Okay,
England.
I was going to say, that's huge.
But still, like you think of the modern population of England, you're like, that's nothing. So,
Still a lot of people.
It's still a lot of people. Well, all right.
Like, that is stadiums and stadiums and stadiums filled with people.
That's for 3.75 million. That's got to be like downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah, probably. I can't remember off the top of my head how many Indianapolis has.
Indianapolis
Fishers has
is.
93,000 or some shit like that, though.
Yeah, I know Indianapolis is like the 12th largest city and has
Yeah.
several million, but I don't. Anyways.
But in any case.
In any case, mostly the treatments for the bubonic plague was prayer and literally running away. Ah, that person's sick. Run away! So they did kind of know social distancing.
that was the treatment for everything in those days. Like, you prayed it away or you
And you
just
ran.
ran from it.
Which, of course, running away was really effective in that, this person got sick in this household, so I will run away to the next town over and then spread it to everybody. So, not a whole lot's changed in 670 years. The next thing, Johnny, I got for you, it's a very quick note here, is that General Burnside will replace General McClellan as the head of the Army of the Potomac on November 5th, 1862. I thought I'd throw a Civil War thing in there.
Okay.
So I can throw a shout out to our Civil War in Hindsight series that we're doing.
Are you going to throw a shout out to it, or are you just going to mention throwing a shout out
Well,
to it?
I did.
Hey, we're doing a Civil War in Hindsight series every week. We're going to follow the Civil War in real time for the next 4.5 freaking years, apparently. So be sure to check that out. Same channel.
Same channel, just different playlist. Anyways, General Burnside, he would replace the underperforming McClellan and told Lincoln, look, I really am not qualified for this job. I don't think I'm the guy you want leading our troops. I'm comfortable doing it on a brigade level, but I really don't want the whole army. And Lincoln's like, you're my guy. And he's like, no, I'm not. And Lincoln's like, all right, well, then I'm going to pick Hooker. And he's like, oh, Hooker. Oh, we can't have that. I'm your guy. And then would proceed in a month to lead the Army of the Potomac in what is considered the worst massacre in U.S. military history at the Battle of Fredericksburg.
He took the Potomac and then did a really good job with the position that he said he didn't want and couldn't do?
He took the Army of the Potomac. He went and attacked Fredericksburg and then got butchered. So watch our episode on the Battle of Fredericksburg if you want more on that. The last thing, Johnny, I've got for us is that I can't, we're going to have so many angsty teenagers if I don't say this, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Remember, the 5th of November, the gunpowder treaty and plot and some bullshit about Guy Fawkes and blowing Parliament up or some dumb shit.
Is this all those stupid face things?
That's the stupid face thing with the movie.
So that happened today?
Well, on the 5th.
Or sometime,
5th of November, 1605. And really the movie does a horrible, it glorifies an event that nobody really cares about. Even in England, it's not that
Yeah, obviously,
whatever.
You'll not be surprised to learn that I've not seen that movie.
Well,
and
you should watch it.
Those little mask things. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure out where those came from when I started seeing them all over the internet.
It came from that movie, and what you should do is you should watch it because
V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta. That's the name of it. Okay.
Yes, and it does take place in the year 2020 after a plague or something hits London, and they put in a whole bunch of extreme measures for your protection, and then create this police state. So, no parallels to modern days at all with that one.
But Tom, I need to know what happened at the end of this movie. It's very important for the next 3 to 4 months of my life.
Well, Parliament gets blown up in the end of the movie. Spoiler.
Oh, so good news.
Yeah. Natalie Portman gets her hair cut off.
What?
She gets this weird.
She goes to short hair, Natalie Portman.
Yeah, she goes. She has long hair, and then literally they. That's one of the good things they did in the movie. They cut off all of her hair, and her crying and stuff about her hair getting cut. That was they didn't really. They're like, which
they just did that to her, and she's like, oh, this is real.
She's like, oh my god,
sign off for this.
Yeah. So yay! But if you're really curious at home, what it was actually about. So what happened is essentially, it's an assassination attempt against the King of England at that time, which was King James I. By some pissed off Catholics. So this is after the Church of English gets established and the Protestants take over and they're not so friendly with the Catholics and there's a whole, not really religious freedoms that are going on. So the Catholics get mad. So they think the way to do it is to kill the King of England. Guy Fawkes comes in, they make him a bigger thing in the V for Vendetta movie. He was some kind of he was nothing. In this whole plot, he was the fall guy. He was the guy that was supposed to watch the gunpowder and set it off.
Guy Fawkes, am I right?
Yeah, Guy Fawkes. Yeah.
No, Fawkes, because he's the fall guy. Come on, Tommy. You made me explain my joke. It was so good, too.
I'm sorry. It was good. I'm sorry. But yes, he gets caught. Guy Fawkes gets caught in the basically sewers, tunnels underneath Parliament with 36 kegs of gunpowder, plenty to just shred the crap out of the Parliament building.
Okay.
And he gets caught.
Here's the thing.
And then,
And all right, I know this is an unrelated sidetrack. Sewers are so much bigger than I thought they were.
Well, especially like medieval, like
Well,
sewers underneath
especially
London.
back then, but even today, like sewers in general, I don't know why. I think it's just some stupid little blind spot I have, but I'm always flabbergasted when I see like underground footage of sewers or people like walking through. Like there was an Impractical Jokers episode where they went down into like the sewers of New York. It is just it's an underground city. It's huge. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, was it Chicago? There's some city that actually has an underground like a
The mole
legit
people,
like
the
there
mole
was
people
there was
in New
a
York
city.
City. The mole
Yeah.
people in New York. It's New York.
Was that what it was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mole people in New York City.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, that's this week in history.
And that's this week in history.